and welcome to this episode of In Talks With. I'm Danielle Radojcin. This episode features a conversation with Vanessa Baird, one of Norway's most pre-eminent artists. Taking inspiration from her daily life at home with her family in Oslo, her drawings are both familiar and subversive, commenting on profound global issues, as well as comically speaking to mundane daily domestic routines. Vanessa trained at the Royal Academy under Quentin Blake and is a winner of Norway's most important art prize, the Lorck Schive Kunstpris. She also designed the Nobel Peace Prize diploma. On the eve of a pair of exhibitions of new work, one presented by OSL Contemporary in London and the other at Glasgow Women's Library, I met with Vanessa at Frieze Cork Street Gallery to talk about her life's work. Thank you for joining me today and for taking time to speak to me here at the Cork Street Galleries. We're here in Mayfair in London, where you have an exhibition of your work. Tell me what it is.
We've got this nice space, and then I cover the place, the walls with watercolours. And I think there's 130 of them. And it makes a nice story of... They're all kind of staged in a corner. I didn't see that, wasn't planned really. But all the images, I think, more or less are stuck in the corner. And it's like a prop. They have like small images of a kind of living room. They would have a mantelpiece with just ordinary mantelpiece and ordinary, looks like a living room corner. And then I'll stuff all the drama into the corner. And even there's not drama next to each other, it will make a drama in itself. You have loads of sort of different pictures next to each other. So it's like just sort of a nice sound. Well, maybe not a nice. It's a bit noisy, the pictures, maybe. A bit claustrophobic, maybe, in the corners.
Yeah, there's no space in between them.
No.
They're quite closely put together, but they're all scenes of interior, of home life.
True.
Busy.
And that's my way of coping with it. You might not like the pictures, but you will get impressed because of them, might you see? That's the way to deal with it. See, I did that in my last show in Oslo. I had sort of a so-called like small picture show. Is that what they would say? Like small pictures, sort of neat and nice next to each other. For me, that was sort of, could I try that this time? And I did. But I stuck terribly bad quality jokes on them to kind of rescue the atmosphere a little bit.
So you put some jokes on, you put some written words on that were jokes to...
A friend of mine provided the bad jokes. And then I started...
What's an example of one of the jokes?
Into something... can you slip into something comfortable, like a comb, that kind of thing? It's really bad quality ones.
There's one that's like roses are red, violets are blue, God made me pretty, why aren't you? Or
what happened to you?
What happened to you? So it's sort of playing with...
Sloppy, bad...
Playing with nursery rhymes.
Yeah.
This idea of maybe tales.
They're so... easy going that even I could know what's getting on in the joke. It's kind of very,
So there's a sense that the pictures could be very serious and claustrophobic, but you counterbalance that with some humour.
I try, but it comes very easy, you see, because you think, I've got all these pictures, because I draw all the time, you see. I'm in a situation now, I've got this nice table it's not especially a nice table, I've got this drawing room. I've got a table in my room.
In your room at home in Oslo?
Yes, in Oslo. And,
is that at home or is that in the studio?
No, at home. So I do all these drawings, and then, it depends what happens in the world. Kind of slides into the drawings. So then... and then I sort of tend to go sort of like, now it's been obviously loads of Ukraine pictures. And then sort of how do you draw that? How do you kind of get that into your paper? Because that's also material which is accessible because it's always on the news. And then Oslo is full of refugees from Ukraine. And then I can't sort of do a war drawing, as I've never been to the war. But I look at the newspapers and they look like, like anybody running off to the bus station. And then there's all these small rucksacks and small bubble jackets and stuff which are like, all over the place. And these people never turn home. They're obviously just fleeing. And I think sort of if I'm going to do something, sensible, if I can get them into the drawings, I'll have to kind of adopt the small kids' drawings and sort of make them into mine. And then I would put them into the small rooms, bedrooms now. We're out of the living room, we're into the bedrooms where you should put your kids when they're there. And then I tear their heads off and I do a massacre over them. So they've got nice sheet covers and everything looks normal as a daily life. And I'll shove them into the corner, I'll do something horrible. You actually don't see them, but some of them you see the blood and they're like, pulling the parts, the body is pulling, what's it called? Apart, yeah.
Pull the bodies apart, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's quite a violent method, and it's your comment on what's happening with refugees.
I'm not trying to be clever. I just take what I think is kind of possible, sort of how do you rewrite something which is already there, and then adopt it and sort of shove it into your drawing. And then that's what I've done with my mother. I've been living with my mother. She's 90, soon 2. And we live together, well, always. So she's kind of been my model in the way that, I mean, like being an artist is also, for me, maybe, I think sort of being a caretaker has been something which is maybe more all over, kind of all different, your whole life, 24/7. It's something which is always there. So doing the drawings is just in between. Here and there. So being a kitchen table artist, as most people are, really. I also got studios, not that, but still. And then she would obviously turn up in the pictures all the time because she's been such a big sort of, like part of my life. And I've got 3 children that are always in the drawings. Well, not always, but my mother has maybe been my kind of main occupation in a way. Well, it's not an occupation, is it? How do you say it?
Well, I suppose in a way it is an occupation because she occupies your time.
I lived her life, didn't I? So she could stay in at home. So,
but she's maybe a muse to you as well in some way.
People say that. It's just a sort of clever way to, sort of nicely way to kind of put it on the shelf. But I think sort of but they would say that if you've got a top model, like you're living with somebody, you would say, oh, she's my muse, a very sort of young, beautiful woman. They could have sex, the artist could have, get their clothes off, this kind of stuff. Oh, she's my muse. I don't look upon my mother as, but she's been around and she's been a very big part of my life. She still is. So then sort of making it worthwhile, I could shove her into my drawings or my films or my whatever. So it's a way kind of to cope. For instance, every morning I would go down to the ground floor where I used to have her. I used to have her as like a prisoner, isn't it? So I think my sister and my brother look at it's a difficult situation.
How does she like being in your paintings? Your mum?
Oh yes, she's the only one that we would accept.
She enjoys it.
Yeah, because she's a narcissist as I am. We're both, but sort of,
Did she encourage you to paint or to draw when you were a child?
Well, she's always made it accessible. She's an artist herself. She's always been supportive in one way. But she wouldn't sort of be one of these kind of parents that would, But we've always gone to museums and I've been very lucky in that way. We've always had, it's been a part of our life.
So the work you do, it's sort of absorbing what you're encountering in your everyday life, and then it almost sounds like you're diarising or making a diary of your life.
That's a very correct way to see it. And it's also make it so, you see, then it's so easy because it's so accessible, isn't it? You can it never stops.
It never stops because you've always got material.
Yeah, always. You get up in the morning and your material is there.
Yeah.
All sussed out for you. The only thing you have to keep going, because if I stop, you kind of get stiff in your hands and stiff in your head and you don't.
Do you ever feel like that? Do you ever get stuck?
Yeah, if I stop doing it. So you kind of get a nice float if you always work.
Yeah.
So it's a way of living which is very, it's very, I feel very lucky.
And it's pastels and...
Not only watercolours at home because pastel is just so smudgy.
Is it the black outline, is that charcoal and then watercolour to colour it in?
Make a quick charcoal because that comes easily. So the thing is that living in the surround, I think everyone, you find a way to how you deal with your daily life. And I think it's much more easy to talk about that in a way than the drawings because it's all the same. It kind of leaks into the drawing. Sounds like a leakage. It is. That's what she said, my mother. Your art is like a leakage. You're too much a leaker. So you're leaking into anything.
Yeah, you're leaking out information.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then they think that, yeah. So anyway, so every morning the last year when I went into her room, I would have my mobile and I would film the situation that was in there. And she was a bit psychotic also because, she was afraid, she was terrified of losing herself. And I think there's nothing extraordinary about that, but it's a terrible thing to be afraid that she didn't know where she was, or I don't know. She was just terrified. And then I would film it as a record to keep myself going more than keep her okay in the room, because it wouldn't be possible if I couldn't sort of rewrite, thinking, she's my material. So it's a way to kind of not being horrible as a caretaker. Sort of keeping a record over my own ways of talking to her and coping and not being angry and horrible. And you lose your temper, if you're with somebody that doesn't cope for days and days and days. And even if we had really lovely times, of course, but that's not the biggest part of it. But I think sort of, having access to what I'm doing, and drawing is very easy, comes very easy.
And is the drawing you're doing at home, when you say you're sitting at the table at home, is that quite different to what you're producing when you're in the studio?
Yes, absolutely. When I'm in the studio, it's much more ambitious, because then I've got another project, because then I go into the studio, because then I have to, it's obviously if I'm going to make a, whatever, like a show. I was doing loads of the stuff for the Mediterranean, the drowning. And everyone knows what's going on, but making it into a wallpaper as it's part of our story, and everyone cares about it, but everyone can do anything about it, but still we will accept that people are drowning, and so
you mean the refugees that are trying to reach Norway?
Yeah, so I made huge drawings, like a tapestry that went on for 260 square meters, and I made like loads of rooms, not loads, but many rooms of that. And I thought that gave me, then I take the personal stuff out. Then I just put my anger and frustration in. But that was also, it was good. It was good doing it.
Yeah.
It's a bit meditative because it was so hours and hours of drawing sea. I can even do it upside down, going up the aisle and down the aisle. And I'm left-handed, you see, so then you can only draw with one hand. And then you can do it even upside down, and you get sort of, it was good.
So the rhythm,
it's a rhythm, isn't it? It's
like
some people go yoga or they do other things. I can just do the drawings, as long as my hands doesn't fall off.
And who are you painting these ones for? Are you thinking of trying to influence the government and their policies towards immigrants?
I've got nothing to, no. We're all trying to make a nice sound from our corner. Mending something altogether, trying to get, the world is on fire and everything is going to pieces, and I think everyone is a bit shaken these days. It's like a completely bizarre situation we're all in, and we've got the Russians, of course, very close to our neighbours, so I don't think we can, I just have to think we have to, make a nice atmosphere in your corner, make humanity kind of function again a little bit, going to our,
you've got an exhibition running concurrently with this one at the Glasgow Women's Library.
Yeah, it's a very nice space. Well, nice atmosphere in the library. But they're small works. I was up there last week and got it up on the wall. That's about alcoholism. Because I didn't want to take the refugee drawing over there, because the people that use this space, I think, a lot of the people have terrible experience. That's why they're there, to go on an English course and stuff. So I'm not there to kind of, impress anyone. I went there for sentimental reasons.
So why did you want to explore alcoholism?
Well, it's a part of my life. We're all loads of heavy drinkers in my family. I had to split up with a very nice father of my kids. So it's been a bit, it's a strong part of our culture.
Yeah.
But we are not, so I thought all men did, kind of thing. And I just got used to it. He's a very nice man. He's a sailor. So I drew him as into the what's it called? The Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man.
Popeye the Sailor Man.
Well, I made him into the Popeye the Sailor Man, and I was the Olivia. So I made sort of a nice...
Olive oil?
Yeah, so I made... She looks like me a bit. And then the furious woman was sort of behind this man, barking him out, trying to deal with it. So I made 27 paintings and I stuck them up on the wall because I thought maybe that would be something somebody could have, they could...
they can maybe relate to it.
Because alcoholism is a huge part of loads of people's life.
Why were you researching the archives there for that?
Well, I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
But you have a family connection with
Scotland.
My
mother's born in Glasgow.
Yeah, and you spent childhoods, I think.
Well,
yes,
I did.
You went on holiday there a lot.
I've been there. Well, not Glasgow. We used to go to Aberdeen, which was very nice, and I had grandparents up there, and I've got family and everything down in Edinburgh, so we go in and out and up and down. That's where all our holidays went. We don't have any Norwegian relatives. And
all your relatives are in Scotland.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think identity is kind of a construction in our family, because I'm born in Norway and I'm brought up in Norway, but sort of our culture thing is very Scottish, even if we're not there. So it's kind of a strange thing that it's all sort of, you think, sort of all your, what's it called, reference is kind of English or Scottish or like even whatever, British. So everything is kind of connected to that. And then, so it's very much sort of construction. It's not sort of as it for real.
Mm. So I suppose in a way what the stuff you're creating when you talk about the alcoholism and so on, there are sort of universal, it's personal to you, but there are universal themes that people looking at the work might be able to relate to or might be able to get something.
And also kind of, my mother was an artist, and as she wasn't very good, I mean, she was good, but she didn't come easily because she was afraid to not being good enough. You go all stiff, and she was a foreigner in Norway. I could kind of continue her project being much better. So I even adopted her bloody images. I did. I took even her paintings. Oh, yeah, she made all these...
She didn't mind that?
Well, I don't know, she probably did for a while. And I adopted, she had all these messy paintings of beds, you see. What's it called? Beds which were not made up.
Yeah.
And then I was just continuing her project. So I've kind of actually nicked her project, or I continue her project she didn't manage to fulfill.
Do you talk about that? Maybe that's nice for her that you've managed to build on that.
Oh, yes, I
work.
flatter her all the time, saying what a wonderful woman she is, and I'm a big artist and everything, and she agrees with that. She likes that line, that version of the story. Yeah. And, I'm very grateful for having, spent my life with her.
And your dad, he was Norwegian, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I didn't live with him because until he moved when I was 6.
Oh, okay.
He was a very nice person, but he drank also too much. He was an architect, but he was into, nice things.
And I think that the only time you maybe weren't living in Norway, you spent some time studying here in London.
Yeah, I went to the Royal College for a couple of years. Took my master's there, so that was nice.
And I read that you studied under Quentin Blake.
I did.
What was he like to?
He was lovely.
He's a great figure,
he was a very nice tutor. He was kind, polite, which is always a good idea. And he would bring they would have even lunch guests in. I remember they had Ivor Cutler and stuff that came. It was such a big thing for me to come over, and we were next to the painting apartment, seeing all the serious people going in there doing their paintings and stuff. And I got a couple of friends. I didn't dare to speak for the first term. I was so nervous about my language. And then after the first term, I got some friends, and it was lovely. It was really nice. We were down on the exhibition road. And it was good years. Very nice. And we had, it was kind of a proper education, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Serious.
I mean, there's a sort of anarchic element to his work, which I can sort of see.
Yeah.
And also, do you think that you developed a sense of imbuing your work with humour working with him?
Not really, no. I always think in my work I had to rescue that because I hate that pretentious part of the world, of the art world. I've always had difficulties with that. Well, pretentious people, full stop, trying to be big-headed kind of thing. I don't get that. I don't respect it. I think it's horrible. When sort of, how people talk about architecture or even So most people, like sort of, you speak to authors, they're normal, nice people, and they've got sort of a nice approach to talk about things. But I think being 60, and like even when I was very young, I went to the art schools. You would think, you meet them after 10 years, and they would talk sort of in the language vocabulary. I would kind of you hardly get my vocabulary is lacking now, but still sort of getting a sort of highbrow thing of things.
Taking themselves too seriously.
Yeah, it's horrible. Why should they? I mean, just trying to make, you've got one life and you try to do some drawings and make, something out of it. It's not more to life than that, is it? To survive. We're all struggling not get enough food and get a corner and make a nice corner for yourself. That's what it's all about.
And the humour.
Safety.
Yeah. And the humour in your work, I mean, you use... you lean on words a lot, and you have incredibly evocative titles. Like the title of this exhibition is I Can Make It Down to the End of the Road and Be Back in Time for Tea.
Yeah.
But it's very quirky and it almost sounds like a nursery rhyme.
It is nursery rhyme.
Is
it's
it,
from
is it
Christopher
from
Robin.
Is it Christopher Robin?
Yeah. It's lovely,
there
isn't
you
it?
Go. It is
It's a
lovely.
title that fits every picture, I think. So it's like...
Is that why you chose it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I went in the shop. It's like going into the shops, you get 2 for 3. It's kind of the idea that, this is a one-liner that you can sort of fit into all pictures. Go down to the end of the road. It's like an insurance sort of, come back. I'll see you in a jiff. It's kind of this kind of stuff. And it would fit in for anything. I do that every time I say that. Every morning I leave the house, I would say the sentence to my mother. My kids would do that with me. I'll see you then, kind of thing.
In English?
Well, I do that to my mother, but they do it obviously in Norwegian. It's an insurance that you'll be back. And when that stops, then it's terrifying. It's just such small alternations when things go horribly wrong. People don't turn up and they don't come and you get worried and something horrible is going on. So it's a very useful title. I thought it was nice. I thought maybe I'm reading too much into this title because I'm completely dyslexic and thinking, that's a nice title that can fit any kind of drawing and just try it out. So I did. Maybe it's a bad idea.
I think it's a very charming title. Do you always tend to use English titles?
No. I'll go to any's. Yeah. As long as they're not French. Well, I have some French titles because I just went to Nice. But I would... when in the 80s people would have German titles, they would even at home have in Latin. That's when you make a big distance between you and the rest of them. And that's not what we're doing, is it? Trying to kind of shove people. We want to get them in. You want to kind of talk to them or not talk to them, but
that's interesting.
Make it accessible.
That's funny that that thing you were saying about walking a fine line between comfort and familiarity and how it can quickly fall into discomfort or even madness. Because there's a sort of air that feels a bit like that in some of your pieces, that there's an air of like people who are losing it.
Yeah. So it's just so small. It's so, like sort of it's keeping your hands warm, or it's a big difference that you kind of go completely into the fire. And it's these so small things you need to kind of shove around and sort of move around, and it doesn't sort of go so horribly wrong. So it's what we're dealing with in our life, sort of when they go mad and they drink too much. And like for me, like most people in the world, family is the strongest thing you've got. It's the most important. Well, mine collapsed, and still it's really interesting and nice, and you kind of find a new way to deal with it. And yeah.
Feel stronger?
You don't, well, I don't feel stronger. I just felt left, didn't I? Everyone walked out, and I was kind of, what the hell happened? 3 kids, 2 left. Mother had to go in the home. Husband had to go in the rehab. And obviously we didn't manage to kind of cope with that for some years. But then I used so much energy to keep it together. And I thought it's the only important thing I can do. And then when that collapsed, everything fell out. You just keep on going, don't you?
You just keep on going. I know what you're going to say when I say this because you're so modest, but you've become, by all accounts, one of Norway's most successful artists over the years. You've won a big art prize, and I won't be able to pronounce this, the Lorck Schive Kunstpris.
It's all to do with money,
Yeah. Which is very important though, because it helps, it funds you, means you don't have to rely on selling work. And you also designed the Nobel Peace Prize diploma. So does that give you a sense of freedom that you can just keep working?
Absolutely. It's for like everyone in the world. I mean, like, money is very necessary to have to keep you going. And it's the only thing that makes everybody, like, poverty is terrible. And I manage more than enough. I'm good in the way with money now. And, coming from Norway, you say it like famous. Everyone in Norway is famous because it's only so few of us there. We're 5 million people.
That's what you did a book cover for Karl Ove Knausgaard.
Knausgaard. Yeah. He's a megastar at home.
But he says a similar thing about how that's why he was famous in Norway, because he goes on about how small
it is small.
But that's just being modest as well, isn't it?
No, it's not. Well, he shouldn't be modest because he's a world star now. I mean, he's bigger than Murray and the lot, so he's big. But that was easy working with him. I got this SMS from him, and I thought it was a joke because, sort of,
Did he
hello,
sign
I'm
it?
Karl Ove Knausgaard.
Did he actually say that?
Yeah, he did. And he said, So we did that, and that was... I tried to impress him to make some nice drawings because I had already read my what was it called? Mein Kampf.
Yeah, Mein Kampf.
And my private life was so boring by the time. It was absolutely unbearable. I was sitting there struggling along with the kids and stuff. They're a nice company, but it was very sort of, settled. I was reading Mein Kampf, and it's exactly the same. He had these 3 kids. It's like me and him. Me and Karl Ove in it together. And then doing all these boring daily things. So it kept me going for the whole summer in the rain at my cabin.
The painting for the book cover?
No, the actual books, getting through his novels.
Oh, I
was
see,
a big
the
job.
reading, yes.
So I had the most, it was like, having sort of a tight relationship, me and him, the same kind of, So then I was a couple of years after that, I got this message, and then I went a bit then I got uptight. I thought, I have to do something really good for Karl Ove, because, I'm a fan of his stuff and, his books and everything. So then I made some really stiff drawings, because then it was not only me, it was also him in it. So I made a couple of... I really struggled with that one, sort of 2 or 3 really...
It was your struggle.
It was my struggle, was trying to impress Karl Ove. So then I actually didn't manage. So what I did is that I took 50 or 100 drawings, something I just had there, sitting there, and I did what he does, send too much. He writes too many words, too many books, too many everything. So I did the same thing. I thought, I'll give him what he needs, and that's maybe 100 pictures in one go. And then that was quite for 3 or 4 days. And we took them out carefully. It was just done in 10 minutes. So that was good. So it was a very good way to work. Best collab ever.
Best
5
collab
minutes.
ever.
10 minutes collab with Karl Ove Knausgaard. So that's not, he's easy going.
And did he see because some people have compared some of the elements in your work to Munch, and because he curated the exhibition of Munch's work?
I don't know. It's difficult for Norwegians to get around the Munch. We're born and brought up with the stuff. And I would go into the old museum every morning to have my coffee and use their lovely toilets and everything. Now they close the whole thing down. So it's like, what's it called? Sort of, it's like a craft museum. You go in there and it's part of us. Or every Norwegian. You don't need to even be interested in art too. It's part of us. It's not on all our sort of, wherever. Munch is all over the place.
Munch is everywhere.
And it's like Frida Kahlo is all over the rest of the world. Yeah.
Well, you're very prolific. I mean, the amount of stuff that you've got out there is impressive.
That's because I work all the time, and then I am never end going. Maybe that's the steroids I eat, in the morning. I have steroids every morning because of my kidneys.
Yes, you have a kidney infection.
No, it's not it's just the way I work. It comes easy, and I just do it as a routine. And I like the routine, so I just keep going. So there's nothing more to it, really.
Okay, well, good luck with that, and thank you for speaking with me.
Jesus, thank you for
It wasn't that bad, was it? You've been listening to In Talks with me, Danielle Radojcin. The sound and theme music is by Woogie Productions and the artwork is by Patrick Waugh. If you enjoyed this episode, please pass it on to someone who you think might also like it. Please subscribe and leave a review. To pitch for guest ideas, you can DM me via my socials at Danielle Radojcin. Thanks for listening.